Hello, everyone, and welcome to uh, the apocalypse. I hope you're all enjoying your quarantines and your social distancing, and that you're all hunkered down and safe. And you know, uh, I, none of us really knows exactly uh, how we're gonna deal with this. I don't know what your mindset you're in, kind of mindset you're in. I'm obviously been a little distracted, a little anxious lately, but maybe spending some time talking about Shakespeare could distract me for a little bit and distract you for a little bit and listening to it. This is not going to be like a lecture, like a full class kind of thing. I'm going to spend like an hour and 20 minutes talking here. What I thought I could do is talk a little bit about the first two acts of As You Like It and zero in on a couple of key passages from the text that I think warrant closer scrutiny or that are particularly interesting. Um, you know, I've never done this before. I don't really know what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm in very professorial attire here in my hoodie, and but I did try to set up the room with some books in the background, and then I've got my degree over my shoulder here so that I'm legit. Maybe help you feel a little bit better about the circumstances. If I angled the camera just a little bit, you'll see I also have a giant box of Twix. I don't know. My son got that for Christmas, and I've been hiding it from him. So I got that going for me too down here, hunkered down in my little hidey hole. So anyway, As You Like It, it's the first comedy we've read, and it's obviously very different than the things we've been looking at before. And in this format, what we can cover and can't cover is of course going to be limited by the circumstances. I'm not going to make you sit through, like I said, an hour and 20-minute lecture or anything like that. Nor do I really have the wherewithal right now or the mental stability, emotional stability to construct anything so intricate. But these first two acts of the play, what we learn in these first two acts is that this is a play that is structured around two worlds. And we've seen that kind of structure before. Where have we seen a play that is sort of structured around two worlds before? That's right. It's like one of those kids shows, right? That's right. Henry IV, Part 1, where we had the world of the court and the world of the tavern. Here we've got, again, the world of the court with Duke Frederick and his daughter, Celia, and his niece, Rosalind, who, of course, are important characters in the play, as well as the noble Orlando, who is the younger brother of Oliver, who are the sons of Sir Roland de Bois, or Roland de Bois, as Shakespeare would have pronounced it. Shakespeare didn't really use French pronunciation, so we have Roland de Bois, and we've got Jacques instead of Jacques. We've got that world of the court there. We'll talk about that first, which introduces us to our main antagonist Duke Frederick, but also to our hero Orlando and the main female protagonist Rosalind. And then we've got the world of exile, the world of where Duke Senior, the Duke who has been deposed and banished, resides with his men in the Forest of Arden. And that Forest of Arden is either a kind of utopia or sort of a big joke, depending on who you ask. And so we've got these sort of, Act 1 mostly is in the world of the court, and Act 2 is in the world of the Forest of Arden, which is very much not the court, and the people there in the Forest of Arden who have been exiled, of course, most of them anyway, are aware of its distinction from the court, as we'll see. Let's talk a little bit about our characters. Orlando. It's a little confusing what's going on with Orlando at first. You begin this play, you're smack dab in the middle of a conversation about what we might call primogeniture. Primogeniture. Our word for the day, boys and girls, is primogeniture. You know what I need? I need a whiteboard. I don't have one of those. I'm just thinking now, what do I write things down on? I didn't think this through, as you can see. Maybe I can get something. I'll order it from Amazon or something. I'll hang it up behind me. Primogeniture, Primogeniture. Primogeniture. You can look it up anyway. Which is which deals with the way property and titles are inherited, usually by the firstborn son. So Orlando, being the younger son, is sort of at the mercy of his older brother Oliver. And what we learn is that Oliver has sort of, not been very generous with Orlando's upbringing. Oliver, as the older brother, has all the money, has all the power, and instead of using it to educate Orlando and bring him up in a respectable way, he sort of kept him down. And if you turn to page 418, um, um, Orlando kind of complains about this and says, you may be the firstborn, but I'm still my father's son, and you still owe me the upbringing of a nobleman. This is line 38 on page 418, Act 1, Scene 1, line 38. Or sorry, 30. Let's go with 36. Oliver's angry. He says, "Know you before whom, sir, you stand?" And Orlando, "I, better than him I am before knows me. I know you are my eldest brother, and in the gentle, noble condition of blood, you should so know me. The courtesy of nations allows you my better in that you are the firstborn, but the same tradition takes not away my blood. Were there 20 brothers betwixt us? In other words, I'm still part of the family. I'm still your brother. I'm still my father's son. I am owed a certain degree of gentility, which you have denied me, not giving me an education, sort of not bringing me up as a gentleman, etc. I have as much of my father in me as you, albeit I confess your coming before me is nearer to his reverence." Um, and then Oliver gets angry and they attacks him and they scuffle, and Orlando is much stronger and is could beat him senseless, but he's persuaded not to by his elderly servant Adam. More about him later. In any case, because Orlando is such a lowborn, he's not lowborn, he's highborn, because he's had such a sort of underprivileged upbringing thanks to his brother's stinginess with the family inheritance. He has to make a name for himself another way, and so what he decides is he's going to take on Charles, who is like this traveling wrestler. I bet you didn't expect wrestling in a Shakespeare play, but here we have it. Charles is like, a kind of barnstorming champion who goes around to different villages and towns and challenges the local hero, and has this reputation of being unbeatable as a wrestler. And so Oliver is going to take him on to sort of make a name for himself. And in doing so, he just so happens to catch the attention of Rosalind. Now let's talk about Rosalind and Celia for a second. They are cousins. Rosalind is the daughter of Duke. Celia is the daughter of Duke Frederick, who is the current Duke, and Rosalind is the daughter of Duke Senior, the banished Duke. So she's like the daughter of the Duke's enemy, but he's kept her in court, sort of to be a kind of companion and a sister to Celia. Although later he's going to change his mind and have her banished, of course, right? And Rosalind is very clever, very intelligent, as we soon learn, right? She's not somebody who is easily given to flights of fancy or to foolishness. And when we first meet Celia and Rosalind, they're having a very witty conversation. About love. This is line 20, Act 1, Scene 2. Line 20, page 421. Let's start with line 19. Celia says, "Get over your father's banishment already. You have me. Therefore, my sweet Rose, my dear Rose, be merry." Celia has just promised her that when her father's dead, she will make sure that Rosalind is taken care of, right? She loves her like a sister, etc. And Rosalind replies, "From henceforth I will cause and devise sports. Let me see. What think you of falling in love?" And Celia responds, "Marry, I prithee do, to make sport withal." In other words, sure, love is fine as long as you don't take it too seriously. Love is fine as a sport, as a game, as an amusement. But love no man in good earnest, nor no further in sport neither than with safety of a pure blush thou mayst in honor come off again. In other words, don't give them too. One, don't never love a man too seriously, right? Never love a man with in a way that where you're really giving over your heart because you'll just get hurt. But also, never do anything that you'll regret. Don't do anything that you can't come off again. In other words, don't give too much, whether physically or emotionally or whatever. And we, quickly are going to learn that, these are young women, and they're going to watch the wrestling match with Orlando and Charles. And Orlando obviously puts on a very good show. And Rosalind, in particular, is very impressed. So although they started out kind of mocking the idea of love, sort of making light of it, oh, men are stupid, we don't take them too seriously. When she sees Orlando wrestle Charles, and actually defeat him, she's kind of awestruck by his courage, by his gentility, by his physical prowess, also by his his handsomeness, etc. And that's at the end of Act 1. Could you be quiet up there? Sorry, my son is playing Super Mario Maker 2, and I could hear him shouting in frustration. Hopefully, it's not coming across. Because I'm not planning on editing this, I can tell you that much. All right. Oh, yes. The wrestling. So before the match, Rosalind and Celia are sort of trying to talk him out of it, right? They're like, don't do this. He's going to kill you. You're this young guy. I mean, I think Orlando's probably supposed to be like 17, 18, something like that. And Charles is this, big burly wrestler. And he's gonna kill you. Don't wrestle him. This is line 148. Well, let's start at line 144. All right. This is Act 1, Scene 2, line 144. You can always pause the video if you need time to find it. Act 1, Scene 2, line 144. It's on page 424 in our edition. Young man, says Rosalind, young man, have you challenged Charles the wrestler? No, fair princess, he is the general challenger. I come but in, as others do, to try with him the strength of my youth. Right? He's looking for challengers. I'm going to challenge him. I'm going to make a name for myself. And Celia says, you're crazy. Young gentleman, your spirits are too bold for your years. You have seen cruel proof of this man's strength. If you saw yourself with your eyes or knew yourself with your judgment, the fear of your adventure would counsel you to a more equal enterprise, right? If you had a brain, you'd try something easier. We pray you for your own sake to embrace your own safety and give over this attempt. Don't do this. And then Rosalind, do, young sir, your reputation shall not therefore be misprized. We will make it our suit to the Duke that the wrestling might not go forward. We'll plead on the Duke for your behalf. And he's not having any of it. No, he's fully committed to this. I beseech you, punish me not with your hard thoughts, wherein I confess me much guilty to deny so fair and excellent ladies anything. But let your fair eyes and gentle wishes go with me to my trial, wherein if I be foiled, there is but one shamed that was never gracious. If killed, but one dead that is willing to be so. I shall do my friends no wrong, for I have none to lament me. The world no injury, for in it I have nothing. Only in the world I fill up a place which may be better supplied when I have made it empty. So I'm doing it. I have nothing to lose. If I lose my reputation, I never had one to begin with. If I'm killed, nobody would miss me. I'm not going to embarrass my friends because I don't have any. So since I have nothing, I'm better off dead than continuing to sort of exist in the world as this sort of unformed thing, right? So this is his chance, basically. And then Rosalind, very moved, very impressed, says, the little strength that I have, I would it were with you, and Celia, and mine to eke out hers. Fare you well, pray heaven I be deceived in you, Rosalind says. I hope I misjudged. And sure enough, she did. Orlando actually wins the wrestling match. He throws Charles, gets him down, pins him, whatever you want to call it. And Charles is so hurt that he can't even speak. And Rosalind's sort of amazed, right? But there's a there's an interesting moment after the wrestling match. Orlando approaches the Duke, and this is kind of his moment. He's won. He's expecting the Duke's favor. Good job, great work. Who are you? Get this guy a position in my court, whatever. Until Duke Frederick hears who his father is. So let's see. This is page 425. It's Act 1, Scene 2, line 190. Duke Frederick, who's been watching the match, says, "What is thy name, young man?" And Orlando replies, "Orlando, my liege, the youngest son of Sir Roland de Bois." Again, it's de Bois, not de Bois. De Bois. And Duke Frederick, not happy to hear that. "I would thou hadst been son to some man else. The world esteemed thy father honorable, but I did find him still mine enemy. Thou shouldst have better pleased me with this deed hadst thou descended from another house. But fare thee well, thou art a gallant youth. I would thou hadst told me of another father." So kind of cold, and so I wish he had a different father, because Roland de Bois was aligned with the old Duke, the one he deposed. Duke Frederick cannot get over. He's kind of paranoid, I guess you could say. He doesn't trust Orlando because he's the son of Roland de Bois. He doesn't trust Rosalind because she's the daughter of the old Duke. And Rosalind rightly points out, treason is not inherited. A father's sins, a father's crimes are not inherited. Even if they were, my father's done no crime. But to Duke Frederick, anybody who has any connection to the sort of the taint of the old order is not somebody to be embraced. So this is kind of the beginning of the end for Orlando and Rosalind at court. But anyway, after that conversation, Orlando and Rosalind and Celia speak again. It's kind of funny, actually. So, line 200 or so. Well, let's skip a little. Line 204, Rosalind says, 204, just down a little. "My father loved Sir Roland as his soul, and all the world was of my father's mind. Had I before known this young man his son, I should have given him tears unto entreaties, ere he should thus have ventured." My father knew his father; they were really close. If I'd known that, I would have tried all the harder not to have him not wrestle. "Gentle cousin, let us go thank him and encourage him." This is Celia. "My father's rough and envious disposition sticks me at heart. "Sir," says Celia, "you have well deserved if you do keep your promises in love, but justly, as you have exceeded all promise, your mistress shall be happy." All right, if you do but keep your promises in love, but justly, as you have exceeded all promise, your mistress shall be happy. In other words, if you're as honest in love as you were about your chances in this wrestling match, then your future mistress will be very happy. Which is, she's saying that, of course, right next to, Celia's not really flirting here, but maybe she's picking up on something with Rosalind. And Rosalind says, "Gentlemen, wear this for me." And she gives him this necklace to wear around, this chain to wear around his neck. She gives him a favor. If you ever seen like one of those old medieval, jousting things where the knight gives the lady a favor to wear, or vice versa, or whatever, I don't know. Celia's given him this. Sorry, Rosalind. Rosalind has given him this token of affection to wear. It's a very, very sort of clear indication of being impressed by him, maybe feeling something for him. "Gentlemen, wear this for me." Gives him a chain from her neck, one out of suits with fortune, that could give more, but that her hand lacks means. Then there's a dash. Orlando says nothing. "Shall we go, cuz?" He's just sort of standing there silent. She gives him the thing, and he's standing there silent. And the way this is usually played or interpreted is that Orlando is kind of tongue-tied. He's anxious. He's nervous. He wants to say something back to her, but he gets all flustered. He can't say anything because he's starting to like her back. "Shall we go, cuz?" And Celia says, "Aye." And there's another pause as they sort of wait for him to say something. He says nothing. "Fare you well, fair gentlemen." And then Orlando, as they're walking away, sort of to himself, starts, "Can I not say thank you? My better parts are all thrown down, and that which here stands up is but a quintain, a mere lifeless block." So a quintain is like a sort of a wooden mannequin or something. Like, right? He can't say anything. He can't speak. He can't move. He's all flustered. Can I not say thank you? My better parts are all thrown down, and that which here stands up is but a quintain, a mere lifeless block. Rosalind hears him sort of muttering to himself and just like turns back. He's like, he calls us back. My pride fell with my fortunes. I'll ask him what he would. Did you call, sir? Sir, you have wrestled well and overthrown more than your enemies. Hint, hint. You have wrestled well and overthrown more than your enemies. You've also overthrown my heart. Something like that. You have wrestled, but, being very forward about this. And again, he says nothing. Did you call, sir? Sir, you have wrestled well and overthrown more than your enemies. Pause. And again, usually the way this is played, he's like, just sort of like, he doesn't know. It's pretty funny in performance. It's not quite as funny on the page. If I can figure out somehow to do this, I want to get the Kenneth Branagh version of the play. I don't know how to do it, though, so we can all have access to it. It's not on the library site. I'll figure something out. That's the problem I've been running into. It's I don't know. I'll figure it out. Something that I can show you so you can see it in performance. And Rosalind is like, all right, have with you. Fare you well. And they leave, and he says nothing. And they all exit. And Orlando's like, ugh, what passion hangs these weights upon my tongue? I cannot speak to her, yet she urged conference, right? She really wanted to talk to me, and I couldn't say anything. What's wrong with me? What an idiot. And of course, those of us who understand human experience know what's wrong with him. What's wrong with him is that he's nervous because he feels something for her too. She's this beautiful young woman, and she's being pretty forward with him. You have overthrown more than your enemies. Wear my chain, and he's just sort of, really blows it, I guess you could say. So that's how the courtship begins. Now, they're both going to get banished by the end of Act 1. Or have to flee by the end of Act 1. Rosalind because the Duke no longer trusts her. Orlando because he finds out because of strife with his brother, Oliver. And they're all going to end up at the Forest of Arden. And, Act 2 is what introduces us to this second world, the world of the exiles, the world beyond the court. Now, the court is all backbiting and intrigue and betrayal and, et cetera, et cetera, the way courts usually are, right? And then you've got the Forest of Arden. And in Act 2, Scene 3... Sorry, my bad. Act 2, Scene 1, we meet the old Duke, who leads this sort of group of exiles. They're described earlier in the play, I forget where exactly, as being like Robin Hood and his merry men. I'm sure the reference means something to you. What? Minecraft isn't working. Am I in charge of the Minecraft server? What? I'm doing something. I'm teaching my class here. What's up? Can it wait? Just restart it. Reset it. What is it saying? Sorry. Let me pause it. I'll get back to you. No, wait, I don't want to pause it. Then I'll have to upload 2 files. Okay, I can't help you right this second. Are you trying to play with somebody online? Jesus Christ. Forget it. Give me a little bit. I'll be up in a little bit. I'm just letting it roll. Maybe I'll edit that out later, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. All right, let's just do a little more. I don't want this video to be too long. We're coming up actually on the limit of what I wanted to do. It was always next time. So Act 2, Scene 1, Duke Sr. and his band of merry men, basically. This court in exile. They had been forced out by the old Duke. There was a usurpation. We're used to that idea by now. He didn't kill him, but he was exiled. So Duke Sr. now leads this, enter Duke Sr., Amiens, and 2 or 3 lords like foresters. In other words, all in green, like Kendall Green. Remember what Falstaff talked about? Like Rob, like men of the forest, of Sherwood Forest. There's this group in exile, in hiding. Duke Sr. Now, my co-mates and brothers in exile, hath not old custom made this life more sweet than that of painted pomp? Are not these woods more free from peril than the envious court? Here feel we not the penalty of Adam, the season's difference as the icy fang and churlish chiding of the winter's wind, which when it bites and blows upon my body, even till I shrink with cold, I smile and say, this is no flattery. These are counselors that feelingly persuade me what I am. Let me. By the way, this is like we're back in poetry here. There's a lot of prose in Act 1. Hath not old custom made this life more sweet than that of painted pomp? Painted pomp being the life of the court. Everything's all fancy, right? Here, this is better. We're better off here than in the painted pomp of the court. What we have is real. It's relaxed. There's no conflict. We don't have the strife and the backbiting and the intrigue and all the jealousies of court. Are not these woods more free from peril than the envious court? Here we share everything. Here we all exist in cooperation. We're all sort of equals, not really literally equals, but there's a lot. We have harmony, whereas in the court they have discord. This is a classic kind of formula. Like it's related to the sort of pastoral idea of Renaissance literature that a life outside the confines of the court is more free from the failings of human nature. Here, out in the wilderness, out in the forest, they don't have to worry about all the stuff they have to worry about in the court. The court, you can't trust anybody, right? Everybody's out to get you. Everybody's out for themselves. But here, we all work together. It's a kind of utopian idea. It's not really a utopia, right? It's not as great as they all say. But there is a contrast being struck here between the sort of the peacefulness or the harmony of this court in exile in the forest and the intrigues of the court. And what he says is the wind doesn't flatter me, right? When the wind blows, I'm cold, but at least it's honest, right? At court, people will lie to you and tell you things are better than they are, but here in the wilderness, we really know how things are. And this world of the of exile of the court in exile will meet characters like Jaques, who is the sort of naysayer, who is the one who doesn't buy all this utopian nonsense, right? And our characters from one world are going to make their way into the other world. So our characters from court, Rosalind, Celia, the Fool, Touchstone, and of course Orlando and Adam are going to make their way from one world into the other, and in doing so, all kinds of hijinks will ensue. Most importantly, the romance and the courtship between Rosalind and Orlando, which we'll get to more next time. All right, so that's lecture number 1. In typical fashion, true to form, I didn't get through everything I thought I'd get through, but I don't want this to go on any longer. I'm trying to keep this... I want these videos to be under half an hour, basically. Otherwise, nobody will watch them. So if you have thoughts, questions, comments, feelings, post them in the forum or as a... email me, whatever. If there's anything you'd like differently, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody does. Just don't get sick and stay inside and read your Shakespeare and let's just do the best we can. Okay. So I'm signing off for now. I hope you've enjoyed our little talk. I wish you could talk back to me. But I don't want to do anything synchronous like a Zoom lecture. I'd like you all to be able to do this on your own time. So by all means, send me a video back if you feel like it. I'm lonely. I have my family, obviously, but I'm a little sick of them by now. I'm sure they're sick of me. So drop me a line. Love to hear from you. By the way, the paper grades, I know some of you haven't gotten them back yet. They're starting to trickle in. I'm a little behind, but promise that it won't be much longer on those. All right? Okay. Have a great day. I'll drop another video next week. Bye.